All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're just gonna let people get in and get settled. Hopefully everyone has a glass of something. We are gonna talk about these wines a little bit later in an order of the sparkling rosé, the Cave Sajau, and then the Ajnella, and then the Vara y Pulgar, but you should not wait to start drinking if you have something. Gretchen, what are you starting with? What are you drinking right now?
Ajnella.
Awesome. What about you, Emily?
Got the Sajau in my hands, but all three of them in front
Excellent.
of me, bouncing around.
So for everyone who's still signing in, get yourselves comfortable. We are using the chat box tonight. You will see that someone has already said hi, so they've done the job of kicking that off for us. Thank you, Mike Smith.
Hi, Mike.
We're gonna use the chat box to ask questions and to answer questions. And for just a little bit, we're gonna keep everyone off camera. So this is gonna have a food demo component, which you'll see. We've got Conserva Cam already up on the screen, so you can see that we're gonna be showing you some really cool stuff with the Conserva package. And after that food demo part's over, we're going to give everyone the option of going on camera, and we'll prep you for that so that you're ready and you can join us, and we're gonna have a fun hangout vibe. So I'm just gonna give this one more second and then we will kick it off. So get comfortable, get your glass of wine, and we'll introduce everyone in just a moment. All right, so thank you for joining us. This is really exciting. It's an event that we've planned for quite a few months now, and it's so great to see it coming to fruition. So I'm Erin Drain, and I'm with Ole and Obrigado, and we're an importer of artisanal Spanish and Portuguese wines, established in 1999. And we're so excited to be joined tonight by some very dear friends from Barcelona Wine Bar and Conserva, and also by Priyanka French from Wine Unify. Wine Unify is the nonprofit that we're raising funds for tonight. So thank you so much. Your ticket is going to a really great cause. We'll talk about that in just a second. I am going to just let everyone know, just once again, please use that chat box. We've got some really cool wines and some really cool food products to talk about tonight, but they might be unfamiliar. So put your questions in there. I will be sort of moderating, keeping time, keeping us on track tonight, and I'll make sure that we get all of your questions answered. We also have some polls. You're going to see some polls popping up that are going to help us understand who's got what to drink, what are you eating, what are you talking about, so that we can really kind of make this fun and conversational. So with that, let's get started. So one of the reasons why we're here is to raise funds. This is a series that we do, and every month we have a different beneficiary nonprofit. So to tell us about Wine Unify, we have Priyanka French, who's an incredible winemaker herself and board member of Wine Unify. So with that, Priyanka, I'm handing it over to you to talk to us a little bit about Wine Unify. And you're on mute, so we'll just, there you go.
Classic slip up, but thank you, Erin. I'm so excited to be here with everyone today. And before I kind of talk a little bit about Wine Unify and what our intention and kind of our goals for this organization are, I just wanted to sincerely say thank you to each and every one of you who is spending time here today and is joining us to support this cause. Your support is invaluable to us, so we really, really do appreciate your time. And I know that these guys have lined up a pretty exciting event. I'm excited to be participating, even though I'm sitting in my office here in California. So this has been just a fun Thursday kind of schedule for us, I guess. But coming to Wine Unify is a nonprofit organization that was started kind of in the beginning of 2020. And one of the biggest reasons that this group and this movement in the wine industry eventually came from a lot of the very current issues and topics that the whole country has kind of been, discussing, and that have been in the forefront of our society here for a few years now. And I think it was really in the beginning of 2020 when that conversation started to really take off, and that gave us a moment to just reflect within the wine industry. I'm originally from India, born and raised in Mumbai. And so my journey to Napa has been, amazing, and I have wonderful things to say about it, but there definitely is a bridge to be gapped when it comes to diversifying the industry. And we do think that, this intention and the mission to diversify and really kind of make a more inclusive environment for everyone who's interested in wine eventually works for the wine industry as a whole. I think wine has incredible stories from all the way as a producer. We try and tell our stories from the heart of how we are doing things, and those stories are universal. Those can be related to everyone. So the concept behind Wine Unify was to bring these diverse voices in the industry and to support the ones that already exist. So our founding members are Mary Margaret McCamick, who is an MW, the youngest and one of the first female to hold the title. She is the General Director of Sales at Screaming Eagle, as well as for Bon du Martre. So pretty incredible force herself. And she was joined by Martin Reyes, MW, our first MW of Hispanic descent, who owns Martin Reyes Consulting Company and works with a number of illustrious wineries in Napa. And our third founding member was Dylan Proctor, who is currently the sales director for Fantasca Winery. So the three of them got together with this intention of creating a safe space that brings people in and gives them an environment to thrive. So with that, we started our mission, and our mission statement kind of highlights exactly what we want to do. I'm on the board, as is Jessica Trujillo and Alicia Towns-Franken, that kind of represent the current board of Wine Unify, which I think I should maybe tell you a little bit about myself since I have been speaking. I'm Priyanka, and I work at Signorello Estate. I'm the winemaker here. We're a small estate in Napa Valley. So all of us are very much involved in the industry. All of us come from diverse backgrounds ourselves. And our mission kind of very uniquely distills into 3 words, and it's welcome, elevate, and amplify. So with the Welcome Awards, we're looking to bring in people that are interested in joining the industry, but maybe haven't found the perfect environment where they feel comfortable enough to, ask the questions and make those first steps that welcomes you into the industry. And I'll go more into detail about what each of these scholarships entail. And then our Elevate Scholarship is for people, professionals in the industry that have been in the industry for a while and are looking for that next step to progress their career. And our final initiative of Amplify is to really amplify the voices of a lot of these diverse individuals that are not just, industry professionals, or they're industry leaders at this point of time, and really give them a space where we can highlight the work that they've done. So that's just an introduction to Wine Unify. We kind of execute our work through scholarship programs. So we've partnered with the Napa Valley Wine Academy that has donated WSET level courses all the way from 1 to 5 for our candidates. We're also very fortunate that right with the announcement and the birth of Wine Unify, we found some amazing partners to join us in this venture. Coravin joined us right away. And so each of our scholarship recipients also receives a complimentary Coravin from them, as well as a set of 12 wines from wine.com. It's a part of the scholarship that we provide. So all of your donations are going towards providing these extra amenities to our candidates. And lastly, our partners at Stoltz that provide a set of glasses to our candidates as well. So it really is a robust program. It's something that we're very excited about. And maybe I'll just take a break now and let Erin get you back into the event, and then I can come back in and talk a little bit more about each of the programs. If you guys have any questions, feel free to keep those going in the chat, and we can address them whenever it's time for that. So I think that was, yeah.
Thank you so much. So we are so excited. I mean, and kudos to Wine Unify for getting started less than a year ago and having such a powerful impact already. And we're so happy to see what comes next. And we'll check back in at the end too to hear more about that. And we often have a kind of open format Q&A at the end of this session. So we'll be sure to leave that and keep those questions coming. So with that, storytelling, Barcelona and Conserva are all about it. So I'm gonna have Drew McConnell introduce Gretchen and Emily, Gretchen Thomas and Emily Nevin Giannini from Barcelona Wine Bar, and tell us all about what both of these companies are about. And then we're gonna talk about food.
And then we're gonna talk about food.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Erin. We're so inspired and humbled by Wine Unify, and we couldn't be more thankful that your organization is doing the work that you're doing, and at this time that we're spending today gets to contribute in some small ways towards those ends. Barcelona is kind of a long story, and the three of us came in at different times, and now are so intimately involved in all of our journeys in the journey of Barcelona and Conserva. That it feels so weird to go back to 1996 when Barcelona Wine Bar was started in Connecticut. And Gretchen, you've been on for something along the 15-year mark, I believe. Is that close, or 16?
15 years next month.
Somewhere there. And then Emily's between us because you came on how many years ago? Is it?
I'm in 10, I'll be 10 years in June.
Yep, and I'm 6. I started in the Atlanta market. So I understand that some of you may have Barcelona wine bars near you, and some of you might not have one at all. And so I'll do a brief overview that will either teach something, or even our favorite compliment in the whole wide world is when someone realizes that Barcelona Wine Bar isn't a one of a kind, that there are more of them. There are 18 Barcelona wine bars. 5 of them are up in Connecticut. Most of them are on the Eastern Seaboard, but we go all the way as far as the Rhino Arts District in Colorado. And each individual restaurant is designed one of a kind to really melt and exemplify the community that it's in. We believe so strongly in what restaurants and bars do for the community, how they're the tapestry of culture. And we want to be an active part of impacting that community over time. And each restaurant has its own executive chef. Each executive chef will change and update their menu every single day, printing their their menus in-house, because that might be what a local farmer is delivering that day, or that might be what phenomenal fish was caught the night before and delivered to them. So at any given moment, Barcelona Wine Bar has 18 different menus that are changed from the day prior. And actually, funny enough, those come through our team every single day. And we support the team in making sure those are ready to go and back out again. So we have a very small team that's intimately involved in the hard work of choosing for it to be hard, because on the other end, it means something for the guest experience. And I know many of you that are intimately involved in the winemaking process know how true that is. It's like you spend your entire existence running towards whatever difficult things you can do to transfer effort into some beautiful outcome that you know is going to eventually be there, if only you don't start to run towards the opposite. We also have a really expansive wine list, and that credit goes to Gretchen and Emily, voraciously searching for, that is a lot of menu. Are you pointing towards me?
I was pointing at Emily.
We're
Your points go the opposite way, and so I was looking off camera going, what are we looking for? That's great, I love that. There's about 450 wines on the list, and some of them are very well-known wines that are known for their craft. But oftentimes we know that craft can need to be uncovered, and it can be very difficult, and it can be nestled into a shack attached to a larger winery, in the case of Amos making Viña Oculta. And Gretchen and Emily have spent many, many years saying that no matter how hard it is to run different states and legislations and getting this massive wine program to exist and to develop in all these different places, whatever that difficult work that needs to happen can happen with the support of people like Ole and Obrigado and the incredible wines that we're drinking today. So in essence, to really understand Barcelona Wine Bar, it's a passion towards putting effort in the right place, and to meeting and finding incredible people who are also obsessed with craft, obsessed with the wines that they make, obsessed with the wines that they offer to the American market, and then doing whatever sort of uncomfortable things that often don't get done in the restaurant industry. There's a lot of easier ways to go about it. And I think that that would probably be the thing that we're most proud of is how hard we love it to be. And so Gretchen is the VP of Creative for Barcelona Wine Bar and co-founder of Conserva, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Emily Nevin is the beverage director for all of Barcelona Wine Bar. And though I started in operations and have run a few different Barcelonas around the US, I'm now the director of brand marketing for Barcelona and then also co-creator of Conserva with Gretchen. So I'm going to pause for just a half second and make sure that something hasn't come up in chat that I missed. Aaron, are we good to transition into a short story about Conserva?
We're good. Let's hear about Conserva and then see about Conserva.
So some months ago, it seems, it's funny, I know eventually months is going to become some years ago, but so far it's still just some months ago, we were sitting in a call much like this. There wasn't a large audience, but it was the ones on the screen here. And we were saying, gosh, you know, in this pandemic, people have been staring at their pantries. And I think we all had a different relationship with our pantry through the pandemic. And it just alerted us to the difference, right? And I think oftentimes that's what we've found to be the most inspiring thing is when you know that something really wonderful exists somewhere else and all we have to do is find a way to get it to other people and to offer it. And we know that the Iberian Peninsula has such a relationship with their pantries, with preserved goods and with conservas specifically. And we know not only do they exalt really incredible high quality things that can go in a can, such as tunas or sardines or Dio Peppers that we're going to have today. But they also treat it with the effortlessness that we think they should be treated, much like wine, much like great wine being poured and shared freely. Conserva bars like El Doble in Madrid, they're shockingly fun and approachable. And you go there non-COVID times in your jeans after work and you're eating cockles out of a can with your friends and drinking vermouth on tap. And so we created Conserva, which is all about preserved foods, making your pantry the first place you go rather than the last, going counterculture to what Americans have been raised to believe about canned foods and saying there are really incredible things in cans, not only in the Iberian Peninsula, but all throughout the world. There are people who are obsessed with preserving and keeping something so wonderful so that you can put it in your closet, your pantry, on your shelf, and then you can open it whenever you're ready to enjoy it, much like wine. So Conserva was such a, it just plugged right in. And because we're people who run restaurants and bars, we know how important setting is. We know that it's one thing to eat at home and to enjoy wine at home, but that's not really what we've done for all these years. We've known what it is to take those things and to put them into a really magical setting full of design and vibe and feelings that come from the person that you're sharing them with and the environment that you're imbibing and enjoying in. And so we created Conserva to be an immersive environment in that way. So when you visit conservaculture.com, you see that it isn't really just a can shop. It's really more of an immersive party that sets the table in a way that that we like, you know, in our most idealized moments and our happiest places to enjoy these things. And so you'll see art and design, you'll see really beautiful tableware items. And ultimately, both brands remain about the same thing, putting effort in the right place, enjoying high quality, incredible things made by really remarkable people from all over the world.
Amen to that. We're so excited. Let's see these Conservas in action. We have a food cam, a Conserva cam. Gretchen is
Drew, that is a hard act to follow.
I've had enough wine to get me going.
Here you go.
Right now.
You're preaching, man. So Drew's my partner in Conserva culture and also with Barcelona. So just a quick recap, all three of us work together and support the restaurants with Barcelona. Emily and I are working on the beverage program together there, as we have been for years. And, you know, inside a pandemic, Drew and I created this baby. So, and we're really excited about it. And here's what you got, right? Some really fun foods that I'm hope that you're already snacking on. If you haven't already, please go ahead and start to dive in. I put a few extra things out here just to make it pretty. But in your pack, you got, all right, so sort of my star of the show are these Ortiz anchovies, right? So, ooh, as I'm pouring out olive oil. So these anchovies are from the Basque region. If you haven't heard of Ortiz, which you probably have, you've seen them, even Whole Foods carries some Ortiz products. And we almost wondered if it was going to be like too big of a producer for kind of like the small artisanal producers that we want to feature. But honestly, they make badass stuff. And so there's a reason why they are so famous and popular. They're an incredible producer. They are a big part of sustainable fishing as well. So they make a really massive impact on Spain. And so they're from the Basque region, or at least that's where their main facility is, but they're getting fish from all sorts of different places around the Iberian Peninsula. So these anchovies, and if you're not familiar with conservas from Spain, the cool thing about this is these are all done by hand. So we're talking net caught or line caught, depending on the fish type. They're all cleaned by hand, selected for their perfection. Because if you notice the way those anchovies are laid out, there's no machine that can do that. So these have all been hand cleaned and laid in with the right olive oil to complement the flavor of them and packed by hand. So it's a really time-honored, old school process. That's really the best way to do this. We're going to cook with these in just a moment. If you've never cooked with anchovies, I'm hoping that this will be a new thing for you to discover. Also, if you open this can, you do not need to refrigerate this now. You're not going to need to eat all of the anchovies in here. There's quite a bit here. I would suggest just using a little bit of aluminum foil, covering the can, and you just put it right back in your pantry. So I keep kind of a stack of different anchovies depending on what ones I'm in the mood for. But that's where they stay. They are stable. They're going to be fine. So just wanted to give you that tip there. Also, we've got these mussels. So let's see if I can get this closer to the camera without spilling it everywhere, right? So
You're doing great.
This is my gateway conserva. If you've never really had one before, this is where you start, which is with these mussels. This is from Ramon Peña, and these mussels are from Galicia, which is just those rivers, well, the Atlantic Ocean, all the rias off the coast of Rias Baixas, and even more north of that. This is the area for shellfish. So, and also, again, a really sustainable way to produce shellfish. And Ramon Peña does an excellent job with their preparation here. Again, everything by hand. So they're cleaned, quickly boiled so that everything is nice and clean, and they open up the mussels, pull every mussel out by hand. They fry them in olive oil really fast so that they plump up, but it also kind of preserves them and really gives you that nice texture that you're getting. Then they go in the can with a little bit of an escabeche sauce, which is just vinegar, spices, usually a little bit of bay leaf and olive oil and a little bit of salt. So, and then it's canned. The way that this is really enjoyed in Spain is with potato chips. And so that's why we've got these incredible jamon flavored potato chips for you to try with them. And I encourage you to kind of do them together. Honestly, you can pour that escabeche sauce over the chips if you wanted to, or have some bread sliced up and ready to go to dip into that sauce. You can also take these mussels and toss them with some pasta. I really like it with white beans. That's a really good way to eat them. But really what Drew and I talk about all the time in regards to all of the products that we're selling is it's just open and enjoy. There's so much work already done with these products that there's not a whole lot of effort you have to put into it afterwards. So you can just
joke about it being the way to go to your own party, right? It's like you can have all this, so you can actually go to your own damn party and you're not over there cooking the whole time.
I'm always the one that's cooking at the party and I never get to talk to anybody. So I'm really glad that these things exist in the world, that I can feed a lot of people and also be a part of the party.
Gretchen,
we did have a couple questions.
You agree that you should consume the mussels within a couple of days, different than the anchovies, because they're not covered in the oil.
Yeah.
And then the same question about the peppers. If the peppers are covered in oil, should they still go in the fridge, or can you keep them in the pantry?
Great question. So the peppers are just jarred in a little bit of water. And so these, after you've opened the jar, keep them in the fridge. I tend to consume them. We were actually talking about this before the call started. Like, I'm having an issue with how much I love these peppers. So they kind of go fast for me. But they can last, a week plus, but once you've opened it, it's just like kind of any jarred item. They don't stay forever. But you'll know when they've gone bad because things will grow on them. And you'll see that. Otherwise, if you don't see mold, you're solid. Let's talk about these peppers. In Spain, conservas are actually not just seafood. Anything that's a high quality item, and I have to put a big flag on that, high quality item. So different than how we've treated preserved items here in the US, but high quality items that are preserved and be pantry items are all considered conservas. So these peppers as well are also a conserva. These are Dio Peppers, which means they're from a denomination of origin regulated just like the wine regions of Spain and Europe, as are these peppers. So this is a super sweet pepper. If you haven't already taken a bite of one, go ahead and dive in. I really don't think you'll see here, all I did was put them here on this wooden plate. I haven't put olive oil, salt, or anything on them. They're actually really good just like that. And again, everything's done by hand here. So they're grown in the Navarra region, which is the garden of Spain. Beautiful vegetables are growing there. And this is a specific type of pepper that just does well there. And when they're at their perfect ripeness, they roast them, clean out all the interiors, and then jar them. So yeah, and I see that comment about they're great with bacalao. That's a really typical thing to stuff them with bacalao, or if you don't eat fish, honestly, just like cheeses or anything, you can fill them, and they're really good you can see they're a really good vessel for like doing a stuffed pepper. Or if you just need a good vegetable on the fly, I mean, you just open this jar and like it's all done. So if you don't eat fish, start eating fish. Yeah, actually, that's sort of the theme for tonight. Like, we've got these coastal wines, and we're having seafood with them. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to have seafood with coastal wines. This is a different kind of charcuterie aboard. I don't have any cheeses or meats, which are totally appropriate with these kinds of wines, but this is different. We're focusing on seafood. I put a can of tuna out here because you can't talk about the amazing conservas of Spain without talking about their canned tuna. And I've just like chopped up some. These are called Dio Peppers. It's another type of pepper that's really typical there. That's more tart and a little bit spicy, and it's pickled. So I love to chop those up and put them right on the tuna and eat it right out of the can.
And speaking of seafood, we're going to show kind of seafood on seafood, right? We've got a little food demo coming up.
All right, it's coming up. I got to adjust.
And all of these things are available from Conserva, right? If we go hop on the website right after, we can grab, including the plates, if I'm not mistaken.
The plates.
Yeah, actually, cool. the pedestal board. We call this a pulpo plate. It's the typical wooden plate that pulpo de gallego is pulpo gallego, pardon me, is served on. And then including this bowl too. I don't know if you can see it too well. This is called a Hestia Bowl. Oops, there we go. And this is a beautiful ceramic bowl that we have in 2 colors. That's great for a lot of things. All right, moving over. If you're cooking along, now's the time to get your stuff ready.
And thank you, Gretchen, for the recipes. Just one note, we do still have them up on our website. So if you guys are inspired after watching this session, you can go check out the recipes and these recommendations. You can still order this package from Conserva. It's going to be live and available online. So we'll drop that link again later, so you can replicate what Gretchen's about to do. Just wanted to point that out.
So what I wanted to show you guys today is how great it is to cook with anchovies. It can be a substitute for garlic if you just happen to not have garlic on hand. Garlic is a fresh product, so it's not always something that we maybe have. If you're living in the many areas right now that is getting just pummeled with snow like we are in Connecticut, like you just can't get out to the grocery store always and get the things that you need, as we're discovering as the last few weeks. Anchovies can be that other type of umami and salty and savory thing that you can add when you want a garlic. They're also beautiful together, which we're going to do for this sauce today. I've already turned on my stove or my burner, and I've got it on about medium and just warming up my pan here. And
compliments on your clean stovetop, Gretchen, here in the chat box.
You know what? It's probably just not a very clear camera that. And I've just put a couple glugs of olive oil in here. Glug is a technical term. I'm going to put one more glug in here. It is Spanish olive oil. And just getting that all worked up in my pan here. It'll just take a few seconds to warm up. I like it to be warm, but not smoking. Remember, like I'm using extra virgin olive oil, and that has it can get to smoking like pretty fast. So I love the flavor of it, but it tends to burn quickly. All right, so I've got my anchovies. Let me see. Here we go. I just keep pouring this out over my stove. I've got these cool tongs that I found. I don't remember where I got them. They're pretty good for pulling these anchovies out. And I'm gonna put 2 whole anchovy fillets right here. I see they're on a little bit of paper. There we go.
Do you know about how many fillets come in a tin? Like maybe 20.
A couple dozen. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like a lot.
So if you're doing this with me, you'll see that it's already starting to just melt on its own. And I'm going to turn the heat down now, because you'll see in the recipe, I told you, like, this splatters. You just go with it. It's okay. All it takes is this little bit of work, and these anchovies melt right into the oil. So, and it smells incredible in my kitchen right now. I have made this to go on top of pasta. I've made it to go on top of French fries that I've given to my 11-year-old child. And she was like, why do these taste different as she's eating them? Because there's this sort of addictive quality to that anchovy flavor. She couldn't tell that it was fish. All right, so I'm gonna grate a little bit of garlic in here.
One thing I know we'd all want to know is about your first anchovy experience, if you remember it. Speaking of 11-year-olds having anchovies, Emily, if you remember the first time you had anchovies, it's always, maybe it was snuck into a dish you didn't even know.
No, maybe I was 11 and I don't even know it.
There you go.
I can't even tell you. I'm from an Italian family, so anchovies have been a part of my life for a long time.
Oh, it looks like Gretchen added something to the pan. Let's see.
Yeah, so I put that garlic in, and it really only took a second. Once you smell the garlic, you've probably seen this in a lot of recipes, where once the garlic gets really fragrant, that's when it's time to move on to the next step. I've dumped a bunch of mushrooms in here. Now, what I made could easily come right out of the pan and go into whatever you want it to be. It could just be a sauce for bread. Like you could coat some pasta. You could put cherry tomatoes in here. I really like, in the summertime to toss and quickly roast cherry tomatoes in with anchovies and garlic. Here I'm using a whole lot of mushrooms, if you can see these here, and letting them just get coated in all that oil. And the anchovy is totally broken down now. You get this sort of, you see a little bit of kind of like brown flesh, just a touch, like a little bit of meat, but it's all broken up. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let these roast. Told you this would be a really fast demo.
We have a question from the chat about about using the olive oil from the anchovies for cooking.
You can. That olive oil's not an extra virgin. So it's usually the olive oil that they use for the canning is a pretty mild oil. So I like to kind of keep that oil in the can too, because if you're not going to use all those anchovies, you're going to drain that oil and now your anchovies are without oil. It's good to keep them covered in the oil. So maybe when you get to the bottom of the can and you're sort of on your last few anchovies, yeah, it would be cool to cook with that oil. One, to utilize it, right? And it should taste delicious if you really, want to get that strong umami quality. Another thing to notice about working with anchovies, be very careful on the salt that you use, because the anchovies have plenty of salt. And so now mushrooms can take on a lot of salt. And so I sprinkle just a little bit, but you can still taste it and just make sure it's at the salt level that you like. I'm a salty girl, so I like a lot of salt.
That definitely will tie into the wine pairing piece, which I know Emily's going to talk about in just a moment, why these wines are working with conservas, because they can also take quite a bit.
So I'm finished here. This was it. I've got these.
Amazing.
I wish we had smell-o-vision. I've got these completed mushrooms. And let me see if I can get this. What I did earlier today was I just cooked off a little piece of fish. This is salmon that I roasted in the pan. Just gonna have this right here with it. And then my favorite fancy herb, dill. Just gonna sprinkle a little bit of that around.
That looks so yummy.
Yep, it's my dinner. Thanks for watching it, everybody.
Okay.
That's my very first cooking demo.
Well done, Greg.
Thank you.
Great work.
You really changed my world, Gretchen, when you said however long ago it was, that you said just anytime you would use garlic or anytime you are using garlic, just put an anchovy in.
Mm-hmm.
I do it all the time. Like I make the carbone pasta at home, just put an anchovy in and I let it melt. And so there's really just kind of one anchovy in all of the things that I used to only put garlic and onions in.
It's incredible how it just melts into and just becomes a part of the flavor profile. It blows my mind.
That is stunning. And we're going to all drool in jealousy. And while we do that and wipe our chins, we're going to shift gears just slightly, because we need to talk about wine now, especially how the wines work with all of these delicious things. So while we do that, we're going to actually move to the next part of this call, one of my favorite parts. So what's going to happen right now is that we're actually going to convert all of the guests who've been blowing up our chat and being so engaged and so fun and asking these great questions. We're going to make all of you panelists. So you're going to see your screen just blip out for a second. Don't be afraid. You're not going anywhere. You'll be right back in the meeting. And what that means is you'll get to be on camera with us. We'll get to see you. So if you made something, you can show us what you're drinking. You can show us what we're eating. And as soon as that transition has happened, we're going to have Emily start leading us through the 3 wines that are featured tonight, and we'll be riffing on how they pair with these foods. So we're going to start doing that and bringing you all on camera. So take a minute to refresh your glass and take a breath, and we'll see you on the other side in just a second. Get your wines ready.
Speaking of refreshing your glass.
Yes.
Good reminder.
I've got to do it myself. I've learned so much already. I have such a respect for the humble tin of anchovies. That was only two 2 fillets, Gretchen.
Yeah,
You just
that was
had a
it.
full meal.
And I'm
Incredible.
gonna have it with the Vari Pulgar because I actually think
Ooh.
that red wine really works well with anchovies. Vari Pulgar is super well. Emily's gonna talk about the versatility of these wines, but
Awesome.
Mm.
And when we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to put everybody back into gallery view so you can see the whole screen, and we're going to pin Emily and Gretchen and Drew and Priyanka to the top so that no matter everybody will be able to see our wonderful guests here. So we are just about to finish getting everybody on here, and then we're going to change that view up back to gallery view and watch Emily show us where these wines are from.
Emily, I'm so sorry you're not here for this. I know how much you love salmon like I do.
It's like you've made like the most perfect Emily meal, and I came in here with you. So while we get everybody on camera, I'm going to test out these nifty backgrounds that
Yes.
Ole has been so wonderful to teach
Can
me.
we go on?
Guys.
You don't
So
want to go on with?
one of the things that we love most at Ole and Obrigado is maps. We love to be able to show people where our wines come from. So Emily, maybe we will spotlight you while you have this map up, just so people can see closely where this first wine is from. Thank you, Laura, for doing that. Yes, awesome.
There we go.
All about coastal wines. You need to see how close to the coast we mean. So Emily,
Weather girl moves.
yes, take it away.
So we thought, what better to pair with these incredible, easy, breezy conservas than some easy, breezy coastal wines, right? So our theme today is a mix of Portuguese and Spanish wines. And we're going to start with a sparkling rosé, the São João. And then I'm going to talk about the Asnella, Vinho Verde. We're going to finish off with Vara e Polgar, our red. And first up, we have this beautiful São João. And our first stop on our little coastal journey is going to be to Birada. And you can see on the map behind me that this sits like right in the middle of the coast of Portugal, sort of halfway between Lisbon and Porto, in a really wonderful area called Birada. And Cava São João is a producer that Gretchen and I have been in love with for a long time. And they're known for, well, a couple of things, but one is having sort of like an epic cellar and really super incredible library vintages of back vintages of their red and their white wines, mostly Baga based. But today we're talking about another wine that they make, and this particular region, because it's so coastal, and because you're getting all of this incredible Atlantic influence, is really wonderful for producing sparkling wines as well. And this one is one that we love and is sort of a mainstay on the Barcelona wine list. It's our go-to sparkling rosé by the glass, and it's a blend. It's Baga, but it also has Touriga Nacional and some Cabernet in there as well, depending on the vintage. And sort of a theme of our night is going to be versatility. But one of the things that I love most about São João Brut Rosé is that it has sort of a perfect crowd pleasability. It has like the beautiful red fruit, creamy sort of bake shoppy quality that everybody just loves in a sparkling rosé. But also more than that, it has a depth to it that has sort of beautiful herbal quality to it and a nice fresh minerality. So it's got complexity, and it's a wine that we love for its food pairing ability. In our setup today, we love it for pairing with those mussels and potato chips, sort of as the most classic of classic pairings. Those ham chips and this sparkling rosé is just sort of an epic combo. The salty, umami, savory quality of those ham chips and the sort of beautiful fruitiness of this wine is just, it's stellar.
we love the ham chip pairing also because one of the dishes of Birada is suckling pig. So it was perfect. You guys just knew inherently that Kavsajau is ideal with suckling pig, which people pair always with sparkling wine in this part of Portugal. And this winery celebrated its 100th anniversary last year. 2020 was their centennial. So we're so glad that you're giving them a shout out in this session, in this pairing, because they deserve all the praise for being around for so long and just holding. It's a family winery, and we love them, and we love that you guys are such big fans, and the wine works with everything. So thanks for
that is the truth about this wine. With those mussels too, just sort of like an awesome juicy addition to that potato chip sparkling wine combo.
Cool. And then the next wine.
Yeah, so next up, here, let me adjust my
change
map.
your map. Yeah. I'm gonna type it.
While you change, it becomes sort of like champagne and moule frites, right? It's that same sort of, it's like the opposite world.
Yes.
That's right. Ham chips and Saozhao. So
it's
next
the less fuzzy version. Yeah.
So next up, we're just going a little bit north on our little coastal trip here. So following up the coast of Portugal to the region of Vinho Verde. And we're having a Hestia, which is another mainstay on the Barcelona wine list. And we love this wine because it's such a departure for people who think they know Vinho Verde wines. It is just sort of an incredible, mind-blowing Vinho Verde. So this region that tucks in all the way of northern Portugal, right near the border of Spain, is known, I think, a lot of the times by American consumers for what was popular and what was most available, which is Vinho Verdes that are super light and inexpensive and just crushable, inexpensive, simple, almost effervescent wines. And those are lovely. But the region, especially now, is known for so much more and produces an incredible range of wines. And this really showcases that. The Hestia is something that we love for recommending to our drinkers who love Albarino. Now this is a blend. It doesn't have Albarino in it. It's Loureiro and Arinto, but it has those qualities that people love in Albarino, the rich minerality and the beautiful green citrus qualities, but that with the addition of ripe stone fruit and beautiful richness. So we love this for just blowing people's minds who think they know Vinho Verde. This just is a next level experience and incredible for food pairing as well. We've got this sort of in our mind pegged for pairing really well with the peppers because of the beautiful sweet flavor of those peppers, and this wine just sort of being able to cut right through this. It's perfect sort of vegetable salad wine, but also obviously seafood. Any of these conservas would be just beautiful with the Hestia.
We're getting so many comments about how much people love this wine and that it's just really it's just a surprise and it's kind of blowing their minds. I'm in the Midwest and it's very cold. We've had a lot of snow and I've been drinking this all winter long. I know it's the same for you guys. So just that texture.
Just my go-to. It is just my go-to white wine. It hits all of those things that I'm looking for, that salty mineral finish and sort of just like beautiful aromatics. It's everything you need.
So let's stop real quick to the south.
We're in right now.
Yeah. We'll bring everybody on. I can't wait to roundtable this with everyone in the audience, but let's hear just a little bit about that last wine, the red wine.
Well, yeah, so now we're gonna finish up with our red and just really along the same lines of this really awesome versatility that comes with these coastal wines for food and wine pairing. So now we're gonna go into Spain. You can see that Vara y Polgar is from all the way of the south of Spain in Andalusia. We're going to travel to Cadiz, which is the land of sherry in Jerez. And this is an area that's known for its incredible albariza soils, these like white chalky soils that are incredible for growing palomino and many other things for sherry production. But here we're trying an incredible wine that is 100% Tintilla, which is a unique and extremely rare varietal. And this wine is, I like to describe it as sort of like my Goldilocks red wine, because it's just right. It is, you know, it's not too light, it's not too full, it's not too fruity, it's not too anything. It is, it's got the perfect balance for me. And even more so, this particular vintage I'm noticing has such beautiful clean acidity that Gretchen's idea to pair this with the seafood is just so perfect. It has just sort of the ability, like a white wine does, to just perfectly clean the palate and just refresh. And I'm so into the 2016 Vari Polgar. I'm jealous of your plate of salmon, Gretch.
We know a lot of people haven't had red wines from this part of Spain before, and you know that's part of our takeaway idea with this pairing is coastal wines pair with the things that come from the coasts, right? It makes tons of sense, but red wine and fish is not a lot of people's go-to. So thank you so much for highlighting that for us, you know, in this pairing. And I'm with you on the 2016, whether you have the 2015, the 2016 of Vari Polgar. Yeah, the aromatics and the freshness are just stunning. And we love to share it. You can find a little bit more on our website too. Laura just dropped it in the chat, made by Alberto Ortiz, who's a wonderful winemaker. Let's bring everyone back in gallery view. We'd love to have some question and answer time for Gretchen and Drew and Emily. We're going to bring Priyanka back in a second just to talk a little bit more about Wine Unify. Emily, that was amazing. You did that backwards.
I tried to be so quick on the wines to keep on time, but if anybody has questions or wants to, you know, chat a little bit more, we love these wines and would love to go deeper. I'm going to take away my floating head background though.
That was amazing. And I think we can just put everyone back in gallery view so we can all see one another. Just give us a second to do that. And keep those questions coming.
What should we do here?
I'll just say we've got the 2015.
Yeah, we have the 2015. Is how the years vary in the last one.
The 15 is amazing. And so is the 16. I think the 15 doesn't have as much gushy acidity on the finish, and I'm just speaking for my own experience because I actually have both vintages on my shelf, and so the 16 is just a little zippier right now, and the 15 is just is at that perfect drinking spot. I don't know what you think, Erin or Ole team.
Yeah, we love these wines because as they age, they start to really show off the terroir, that albariza soil that Emily was talking about. It's so important. It's what makes this area so special and unique. And as the wine gets a little bit of age, and you might have seen in our reminder to tell people to maybe open it with a little bit of extra time, you'll start to notice as the wine opens and with or with a few extra years of age, you'll smell a distinct, almost chalky note, slight dusty note that comes through from this incredible soil. It's only found in Jerez, and then also a similar soil is found in Champagne. So two of the world's most important famous and beloved wine growing regions, but nobody really else makes red wine in Jerez. So Alberto Ortiz is really doing something that's a nod to how wine was made well over a century ago. You know, around the time when Conserva opened and all these things, and we love the history behind that. It's a big part of why we do what we do. I see a couple more questions popping up in the chat, and all of you are so fun and engaged. So I want to make sure we answer all of your questions. And we love to also know about favorites, or if you had a pairing that blew your mind. That's something that is also really fun, what you're eating and drinking. We do have this list. So we did have the recipes developed by Gretchen, who is a trained chef. just got to give you a shout out, CIA graduate, Culinary Institute of America. So you can trust that what she's telling you is just incredibly, incredibly special. So make sure to check out the recipes that she sent for us on our website and play around with these conservas after. Emily, I'm curious about what pairing you're going back to. Now that you have led us through the three, what's the one that you're kind of closing
I'm
with?
like rotating through. Currently, I'm back to Sao Jiao and potato chips, but I'm going through in rounds. They go very well together. It's a good mix and match tapas, wine, and conserva situation. But my current, just like I can't stop eating it, is those damn jamon chips.
Someone had a question, Emily, about your glass, about your stemware earlier.
Oh, yeah?
I wanted to throw that out to you. Yeah.
So actually, this is this stemware is so close to my heart. This is a Sophienwald's glass. And I drink everything out of it. You can notice that I have the same glassware for all three. And this is honestly the glass that I choose for almost every situation. I couldn't recommend them anymore. You know how if you've ever had the wonderful experience of using Zalto glasses, this like almost levitational quality that beautiful wine glasses have. Sophienwald's are just, I couldn't recommend them higher. But yeah, this wouldn't normally be a sparkling wine glass, but I think it's so perfect for everything.
We had a really great recommendation for the red about a light chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy to do this time of year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can, Erin is chilling her sparkling in a bucket of snow.
It's true. It's true. I have almost 3 feet of snow in my front yard right now, so that's what my wine's resting in.
So I recommend
those of you in the Midwest know what I'm talking about.
Snow.
She's in Connecticut.
I think so.
Spain and Portugal definitely know what they're doing when it comes to food and food and wine pairing. And this is a huge part of why we love the wines that we bring in from Ole and Obrigado. And so we would invite you to really stay tuned and keep following us on our newsletter and on social media, because we really want to keep bringing you these food and wine pairing discoveries, right? Like I learned so much. And you know, I kind of knew what we were talking about. So stay tuned for what we're doing. We're going to cover Spanish wine and cheeses next month, and keep raising funds for really great nonprofit causes. So we're going to have an open hangout chat. We'll be able to unmute ourselves. But before we do that, and before we thank our incredible hosts again, I do want to bring back Priyanka from Wine Unify to talk about what comes next for an organization that has only existed for less than a year, and how we can continue to support them in making wine and wine exploration open for all.
Thank you, Erin. You know, before I talk, I have to say a few confessions on my end. I have never been more grateful for a mute function before, because initially when it was just the plate, you know, my mouth was watering, and then as Gretchen was cooking stuff up, I could feel my stomach rumbling and it was starting to get loud. So I was really just happy to sit here in the background and enjoy it. But that was just such a fun session. Gretchen, when you said I'm a salty girl, I felt that inside of my heart, because I totally feel that way as well. But thank you. You know, I started saying thank you, and I'd like to end with saying thank you, because it really is the support of all of you, as well as, you know, our members of our industry, that is really helping push Wine Unify forward. And just this one, we're not even completely 1 year old yet, but just these last few months have been so incredible for this organization overall. We set out to give 10 welcome awards, which is the WSET Level 1 course, along with the Coravin wine, which is a part of the education program, as well as a set of glasses, a Capablanca, among other kind of just a whole package that we give to our candidates. And we actually ended up being able to give 20. So we doubled that goal just within our first rollout of the program. And we're currently in the second rollout, so the Elevate level, which is the WSET Level 2 program with our candidates. And I actually have a mentorship session with all of our candidate group tomorrow. So something that came out very unintentionally, but in the most, in the most beautiful way possible, was the spirit of community. We really went, when we came up with Wine Unify and we went to push it, it was to bring people together to have conversations about diversity, about representation, about equality, and how that converts to equity, inclusion. And what we ended up with and what we have right now is just a community that is growing every day. And we're so grateful for the support of people like everyone who's here on the call. But I have to give a special shout out to Erin, Emily, Gretchen, Drew, and I know Ben was here somewhere on this call as well. These people that really kind of heard this call on our end and came up and are doing such great events to help further our cause and push this message out. So I really, really do appreciate all of you and your time and efforts towards this. Our website is very simple. It's www.wineunify.org. That is a great way to know more about our mission. We post a lot of information about upcoming rollout programs. Our intention is to have at least 2 welcome rollouts every year, at least 2 elevate rollouts annually, and then depending on our candidates as they kind of grow within the organization, to push them towards the level 3, level 4, eventually level 5 of the WSET program. The eventual goal is that we hope Wine Unify will help bring us our first person of color in the MW program. And that's kind of what our ambition is as we push forward with this organization. So I will have my information. I'll throw that in the chat box as well. So in case you guys have any direct questions about the organization, how we work, how best to donate, I'd be more than happy to answer that. We're accepting donations directly through the website, but if any one of you wants to reach out directly and get more information about where these donations go and how they're being used, I'm always available to help kind of give that information to you. So once again, thank you all so much for having me. This was incredibly exciting and incredibly torturous all at the same time, just the perfect level of wonderful. So thank you very much. And I will, Erin, I'll send it back to you.
Priyanka, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone at Wine Unify for all the work that you do. And we know that we have a lot of more people who are interested in your work, and we're so glad to join you in that. So Gretchen and Drew and Emily from Barcelona Wine Bar and Conserva, we're all going to be on to answer more questions. There were so many questions in the chat about the food, about the wine. If you made something, we'd love to see what you made. This is the part of the night where you show us what you're drinking, what you're eating, show us your dishes. Feel free to unmute yourselves. This community is so much a part of why we do these food and wine pairing experiences at Ole and Roberto, and we want to see what you did, what you brought to the show tonight. So thank you for being here and for supporting us. And I'll just drop our social media handles in if you want to keep up with everything that we're doing. And outside of that, let's have some questions and let's talk about the food and the wine. Patrick, I know that you're on the call tonight. Our founder loves food and was complimenting Gretchen on her recipe earlier.
Very impressive, Gretchen.
You didn't know, right?
You have so many talents, Well done. It was also super exciting. You have a knack for this.
Thanks. I appreciate that coming from you. You've got quite the food following on your social media.
You're so good, so talented.
There was a question about cookies. Patrick, you commented earlier that Gretchen makes good cookies.
The cookies from Gretchen, this is like another show. I mean,
Stay tuned.
We have to do this one day.
All right, we like it.
We have a red wine here, and I feel like when people think about seafood generally, red wine is kind of seems like a taboo. So I'd be curious from the panelists just to hear, like, if you have any tips on pairing red wine with seafood, if there's a place for it in that on the table.
Yeah. I'd be happy to talk about that. Depends on the wine, depends on the seafood, right? But there's some ways you can work with it. Seafood can have, it's got a fishy flavor, and that can really clash with tannins in a red wine. I mean, it really can like elevate the fishiness of fish. So that's usually the problem with the pairing. So when it comes to the fish that you're pairing with, you want something that has a lot of oil to it. I mean, here I've got salmon and anchovy in the dish. So there's a lot of fat going on there. But neither one, in my opinion, are particularly strong. Well, I guess anchovies can be strong. They're strong on the saltiness, like not so much on the super fishy part. Then you've got a red wine like Vari Pulgar that's not super tannic, right? The tannins are really light and polished out, and the acidity is high, and the alcohol is pretty moderate. To me, that's the key. You've almost got white wine like components in a red wine. So that's going to actually work with the right type of seafood. So, like I wouldn't put this with ceviche, or raw oysters, like that wouldn't be super tasty. I would still want to stick to like super high acid cold white wines or bubbles. But something like this, where it's like really earthy and rich and savory, like, just anchovies. And of course I have the mushrooms on my dish. So that's also a nice link to go with the red wine. I hope that helps.
Would it work with tuna?
Oh yeah. Yeah, tuna is actually really easy.
That tuna mouthfeel with that acidity would just be like,
yeah, and tuna's not super fishy, right? Like
it's not good tuna isn't.
You're right, exactly. Yeah,
this
I agree.
part of Spain is where a lot of bluefin actually come to spawn, so it's perfect match.
And it comes from down by Cadiz.
Yes. Yeah.
Hola, everyone.
Hola.
Yeah. I have to thank you. I think this is amazing. I love Conserva culture, and I had to join because I think it's an awesome initiative. And I was just curious. I mean, I want to know how many of the people online tonight are starting to use more conservas in their cooking at home. I know for one that, I use lentils, I use garbanzos, and it's just like shortcuts to my cooking when I have so many things going on that I just love. And just these piquillo peppers, these mussels, they're nutritious foods. And I think Spain has been so wonderful in preserving all of these wonderful things that you can enjoy. And I'm just curious to find out how many of you have found that enlightening, moment and ease. And I love your dish. I love the anchovies. I love what you put into them, and just mixing them with mushrooms. I think it's fantastic. It's using the oil that they're preserved in, just a little drizzle. Why not add some of those things? So I just think it's wonderful. And I'm curious to ask, how many people have found that experience.
I've been using conservas as an entry into Spanish food for my family, which is not adventurous. But you give somebody sardinas, they're so meaty, so incredibly delicious, and they pair so well with so many different wines and even really good beer. So you're into that whole tapa pinchos culture thing, and it's a really nice bridge to people who I don't like that. I don't like different things. I can't pronounce the name, so I don't like it, which is an American thing.
Thank you. Wonderful. Yeah.
We had a question earlier about Var y Pulgar, just if it's a red, a Tentorier variety, which means it has red flesh in the inside. It's not. It's a regular red grape. Just the red skins are on the outside, which is one of the reasons why it's light. It's refreshing, but it's intense. It's kind of like the little tins of conservas. A little bit goes a long way, and you want more. You keep wanting more.
I have another question for the Barcelona team, given obviously you guys are all pretty passionate about Spanish food and wine. Kind of now, once the COVID dust settles, where everyone's next travel destination would be within Spain.
Oh,
Feels Vigo.
I'll do the easy one. I've already got plane tickets booked for September to Barcelona. I don't know if that's gonna happen, right? It's that thing where you just do it and you go maybe, but maybe not. So they're there, they're tentative. I'm gonna take my boyfriend and we're gonna go because he's never been. And so we just wanted to just go to Barcelona and be there and enjoy it. So yeah, I'll do the easy. I'll rip the Band-Aid off, Gretchen.
I know, it's so tough. I mean, if I'm going just to love it, because I eat and drink my way through Spain as much as I possibly can. And this was the first year in 15 straight years that I haven't been to Spain. And I would land in Valencia. I've got a whole, Valencia is like an underloved city of Spain, but it's actually pretty awesome. And there's some incredible, in fact, there's an amazing restaurant that features conservas in Valencia that I love. And so I'd hang out there for a few days and then just be in a car and go up the coast, because you can just go up the Mediterranean. You can stop in little chiringuitos on the way, have all sorts of seafood, and you get closer and closer to Garnacha country, which makes you happier and happier. And then you can end in Barcelona, or you can just keep on going. And I would end in Cadaqués, which I'm just dying to go back to.
That's my answer. That's my answer, Cadaqués.
Yeah.
I'm in need of a beach vacation. I'm in need of beach vacation vibes. So that's where I would go in Spain. I would just relax in beautiful Cadaqués. That's my answer.
Yeah.
If you like wine, I'd go to Logroño just to be in the center of Rioja, and it's got such a great food culture, all based around Tinto.
Yep.
Calle Laurel in Logroño for just bopping about. Yes, Andrea, you know what's going on. I have to say, I love, Gretchen, that you said that conservas aren't just seafood, and conservas can come from other parts of Spain, like with the peppers from Navarra that you mentioned. So I was really excited that you brought that up. Asparagus, mushrooms, legumes.
By the way, Gretchen, what was your go-to spot in Valencia? I'm curious now. I need to put it on my Google Maps favorites to go later.
So there's a restaurant called Casa Montaña. And it sometimes comes up as Bodega Montaña, but yeah, Casa Montaña. Amazing. I mean, just and a great wine list. That's the thing with Spain. If you know wine, you can judge a restaurant. Start with the wine list. If you look at this list and go, oh, someone really cared about this, the food's going to be good. So at least that's my barometer.
When you're 62 years and they have your birth year in white wines, you're in a good place.
Yeah. Yes.
1958, good year.
So I also work with Oleno Brigado. I lead business development for them. And it's always, I want to emphasize, I think all of us brings us together here is our passion for travel and experiencing other foods and culture. And if anyone is going to Spain and needs any travel recommendations, to certainly feel free to use us as a resource.
Thank you.
On the Barcelona Wine Bar website, we've got all sorts of recommendations as well for traveling to Spain. Our favorite restaurants are there, and places that we like to stop to. Even some hotels that we utilize pretty frequently are on the website.
Oh, we have a pairing challenge question from my friend Jason in Minnesota. We've got some fellow Midwesterners in the house, so shout out to Jason and Joel and Lisa and Chuck. Peri Peri and wine pairing. What would you guys throw at that, Team Barcelona?
Peri Peri?
Yeah. I feel like Kopsage, the sparkling, the spicy piri piri.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the Asnella. I mean, if we're limiting it to the three wines here, then I think you're right. The Kopsage would be definitely the spot on choice for that.
You have uni in the conservas, which I bought. What do you pair that with wine? Yeah, that stuff's just, I've been to Porto in Chicago, and that's one of their featured items actually. But
I love Fino sherry with
Yes.
this.
yeah, which would?
Fino sherry.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I know that I'm not trying to be like, oh, salty wine and,
No,
you
I get
know,
it.
but it really does
No, I
work
can-
really
I
well
can-
with
I
this.
can feel it. Yeah, I can. It would be the mouthfeel too. The sherry.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Textural.
Yeah. It's got that huge structure to it, which I like.
And the thing is, like with uni, I like to use this and put it in things like risotto. Like I want something super rich because that uni will just like melt in. And so something with a little bit more alcohol, a lot of texture, a lot of finish.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of doing it with moloso, arroz moloso, which is the honeyed rice from it's risotto, Spanish risotto without cream and butter.
That would be beautiful.
Well, it would-
Yeah. And
I
then
think-
if you're using honey, right?
no, there's no honey in it. The name is honeyed rice because of the texture and
That's right.
the way it builds it out. It's like making risotto, but you don't add any cream, you don't add any butter. It's just the arborio rice or the rice from Spain. The short grain is so bomba rice is so intense. It has so much starch in it.
Yep. You just cream out all that starch.
You actually start it with after you toast the rice. The first addition of liquid is Fino sherry. So
There you go.
yeah, that's all. What can go wrong?
Well, the Vara y Pulgar comes from the sherry region, and
Yes.
Alberto Ortiz, the winemaker, does make really special sherries, including a Fino, and the winery is called Bodegas Poniente. So we just put the link. Thanks, Yasmin, for dropping that in. So if you want to check it out, definitely check that out if you're having uni.
And that's a great shout out to Porto in Chicago. They definitely do uni there.
Yes.
With a couple of Spanish wines.
Well, if there are any last questions or ingredient questions or pairing questions or closing thoughts from Drew and Emily and Gretchen, we'd love to hear them. And otherwise, we'll have a little moment of thanks and a little toast. I'm sure a lot of us are starving and want to go keep eating and drinking, right? So cheers to all of you, and thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Can't thank you enough, Barcelona and Conserva, and can't wait to see what comes next from you. And if you loved this, make sure to join us next month with Angelica and Despaña. We're going to be talking Spanish cheeses with Spanish wines. So you don't want to miss that. We're very excited. You'll be able to order the cheeses too. So thank you all, and see you next time.
Erin, thank you. You're wonderful. And it's really great to have you as the leader.
She's great.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Cheers and gratitude to all the folks from Conserva in Barcelona.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks for the
Cheers.
passion.
Hey,
Bye.
Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Yes.
So thank you for the recommendation for Porto in Chicago. We're looking up the menu. Do you live nearby?
I live in Naperville, yeah, and I'm going to be at Porto on Saturday, actually.
Awesome. All right. So I live down the street from you, just in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm
Okay.
Molly. Hello.
Okay.
I'm going to connect with you so that when I come up to Chicago to give it a shot, I can be paired with someone who knows what they're talking about.
Bill Pusher 1982 at yahoo.com.
What's that again? Say it again, Jeffrey.
And Molly,
Bill Pusher 1982 at yahoo.com.
Got it.
Molly, I'm in Chicago too. So you should definitely also hit me up. You can email me, Erin@oleobrigado.com.
Thank you, Erin. I appreciate all y'all. I love
you.
Portugal and have been definitely drawn to this. I was actually curious, does anyone know about the pronunciation? Because Matt, would you hand me that bottle? I know that in Portugal, this would be pronounced João, São
Right.
João.
Wow.
So is there a different pronunciation because I know it's in Spain after seeing the map y'all showed. Is there a difference in the
Portuguese.
pronunciation?
That's Portuguese.
That's Portuguese. We just
Okay,
didn't
so
have
this
a-
is in the Portuguese version. Okay,
Yeah.
so
you nailed it.
it's São João.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
You
very
nailed
cool. I
it.
was super curious if I was missing something.
Forgive my Portuguese pronunciation.
No,
So
none
pain in
at
the
all.
butt.
Matt, my business partner, told me that Joao doesn't exist in Spanish, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't screwing it up.
Yeah,
The
maybe
the
Jorge.
map of Spain and Portugal is like a little bit like the delineation wasn't hard, so it just feels like. But yeah, Portuguese. My bad.
Thank you, Emily. It's also close there. I was in the Alentejo a year and a half ago, and it's almost you can't even really differentiate. It's just all so beautiful and so wonderful. So
yeah.
And then you get Galicia where they speak the mix of Spanish and Portuguese.
Yeah.
So it just makes your head explode.
I don't have a shot.
Truth.
You just keep
Thank y'all
drinking
for
and
everything.
eating. It's all tasty.
Just have to practice moosh meow, moosh meow.
Or to
Oh,
guess.
that's it. Of course.
I got it. I speak it.
I'm good.
Well, thank you all again.
I
Good to
actually
see
speak a little
everybody.
Portuguese. I've been learning for a year. It's taken me a year to learn how to know that I don't know what I'm talking about. So.
You're ahead of the Americans who talk loud. Talk louder. They'll understand you.
Good night, Patrick. Good night, Ben. Good night, Jeffrey.
Night.
Gretchen, Drew.
Thanks,
Emily,
Erin.
thank
This
you
was
all.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Thank
So
you.
much fun. Good to see you, Gretchen, Emily.
Bye, guys. So
Thank you.
We'll see you all next time.
Buenas noches.
Buenas,
Ciao.
muy buenas.
Ciao.
Até logo. Ciao, ciao.